Dr. Jim Stoppani's Uncut.
Hey guys, Dr. Jim Stoppani here, and I'm doing my first ever podcast, Jim Stoppani's Uncut. Now, the video is going to be on YouTube, which is where you're watching it here, and for those of you who are listening through podcasts, I'll be uploading the audio for this to the podcast, so you can catch it as well. Either watch the video or listen to the audio. It's your choice. I'm sitting here with my longtime friend, Mike Macklin. We used to work together at Muscle and Fitness and Weeder Publications back in the day. We now work together on my website, jimstoppani.com. And Mike, for those of you who don't realize, is actually a certified strength and conditioning specialist through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. So he's got his CSCS from the NSCA. So he is also a training expert as well, which is why we get along so well. We see very similar on many different topics. Now, today, each time that we do the podcast, we're going to have a specific topic. So those of you who are familiar with my Google Hangouts, my Google Hangout is just an open-ended Q&A. If you think of a magazine, when you open up a magazine, you have the front of the, what we call the front of the book. And that's where you find all those little bits and pieces, those interesting little tidbits. You might find a little bit on a research study, or you might find that, the average intake of sugar in a year for the U.S. is, whatever, how many pounds of sugar, those sorts of things. And then as you get into the middle of the book, you have your actually dedicated articles that you can see in the table of contents. You can see, an article on how to use cardio for fat loss. That's something I'm interested in. Or there's a thing on how to train your forearms. But you're like, well, I've got good forearms, so I don't need to go to that. So to differentiate between my Google Hangout and my podcast, my Google Hangout's going to be more like the front of the book in a magazine. It's going to be, whatever, Q&A. You're never going to know what it is, but you want to tune in because probably you're going to find some interesting tidbits and you're probably going to have those same questions. My podcasts are going to be more focused so that you know what you're getting. So this podcast is going to be on training for fat loss. We'll be doing future ones on, training chest, or try to train inner chest, maybe training for strength, you name it.
How to make your legs straighter if you're bow-legged like me, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So we'll have a variety of topics. That way you know what you're getting if you're interested. And even if you're not that interested in the topic, you probably want to tune in because you'll definitely learn something. So, training for
fat loss.
For fat loss. It's a common question that a lot of people have, especially now that I guess spring is around the corner, at least here in Los Angeles.
The rest of the country is freezing their ass off right now. I think a lot of the when you and I first talked about doing this, it was mainly because so many people, the last real big program you did on bodybuilding.com was Shortcut to Shred, and so got quite a few people doing that, and then everyone liked that, and then they did Super Shredded 8, which we put up on jimstoppani.com, and I think that's kind of like the a lot of the people who go off a shred, it's kind of like their next phase of what to do,
right,
type of thing. So you've been getting a lot of questions, and I think the way that if you're okay with this, Jim, the way that I'd like to maybe do it is rather than you and I just talking amongst ourselves here, is kind of like include the fans of you. So
yeah, definitely. I want to touch down on the questions, and I posted on my Facebook and on my Instagram to post your questions that will go along. I think the good way to start though is to do a little bit of discussion before we get into the questions. And if a question pops up as I'm kind of doing my little monologue, if you will, just throw it in and mention who had the question.
Sure.
So training for, let's jump right into, instead of talking about all this about the actual how we're going to do this, let's just do it. So training for fat loss, there's a lot of confusion about how to train for fat loss. Does training even matter? is it... That's my clock. That's my hot rod clock going off. And what's funny is whenever...
Hey, the name of the show is Uncut, man.
Exactly.
You know?
That's so hilarious because every time we're filming a video, that clock seems to go off. It's got all the different muscle cars from the 60s and 70s, and actually got the real engine sound when it hits that at a certain time. I believe that was the Firebird, maybe, or a Camaro. Yeah. I can't tell from here, but anyway, so that's what that noise was. So, fat loss and training. A lot of people are confused because, does training even matter? Is it all diet? Is it all cardio? Well, it's a real combination of the three. You definitely can program your training, your weight training, to focus more on fat loss. Obviously, diet is a huge component, but we're not talking about diet today. That'll be another topic, how to diet, obviously, for fat loss. But today's really to focus on training. So when it comes to weight training, specifically, a lot of people think, well, it doesn't matter what you do. And, it's just really down to your diet and your cardio. And that's true. I mean, diet and cardio do make a huge difference. And you shouldn't really focus on your training just for fat loss. That's what happens a lot of times when people focus on fat loss of their training is they then end up getting weaker and even losing muscle mass.
Yeah.
And, my Shortcut the Shred program was designed to show people not only will you not lose your strength, but you actually can get stronger while you're dropping massive amounts of body fat. It's all based on how you design your training program. You should still be training to build muscle and to increase strength while you're burning fat. And a lot of people say, well, you can't do those.
Well, that's the thing
things.
Is I think there's...
And that's one of the probably number one questions.
Yeah.
Isn't it impossible to gain muscle while you're losing body fat?
Yeah, and looking through some of the questions, I think that comes up a lot is just how to do it. Even though that you have the programs that kind of outline specifically, with the cardio acceleration, and rather than sitting around on your ass and, hanging out in between rest periods. But I think people even doing the program, just watching and looking at some of the folks who've posted and doing that, they're just following the instructions, so they don't realize that some of the questions that you're obviously going to be talking about training for fat loss, that their actions are actually doing
they're answering
because they don't understand the details of the program design
and the science involved in that.
Yeah, like so maybe you could touch on that, explain to them you're training, but this program is designed for fat loss because of what you're doing. Maybe they don't really quite understand the the acceleration.
And the periodization. The real key is the periodization. For those of you who are unfamiliar with periodization, that could be a whole podcast in itself that we'll touch on. But periodization is basically changing up your weight and rep range from, lightweight for high reps to heavyweight for low reps. And, not just in that direction. That's called linear periodization. You can go reverse. You can mix it up where you're changing up the rep ranges with no real fashion, no real order. But with Shortcut to Shred, you've got a variety of periodization schemes, if you will, that sort of work together. But the real key is that you're not only doing high reps with low weight, but you're also going very heavy at periods with low reps, which people think is counterproductive to fat loss. But what the research actually shows is training heavy is good, because what training heavy does is a lot of people think of, before I answer that, a lot of people think when it comes to training, it's all about how many calories you burn during that workout. And that's really the absolute wrong way to look at training for fat loss. Let's say your workout is typically an hour, right? Okay, we still have 23 hours left in the day.
Yeah.
Even if it's an hour and a half. Even if you train for 2 hours, you still have 22 hours left. Okay, that 1 hour or hour and a half doesn't make a huge difference to the rest of the day, okay?
Yeah.
Even if you burn, 600, 700, 800 calories, it's really about burning calories the rest of the day. Lightweight for high reps will allow you to burn a bit more calories during the workout. But what research shows is that heavy weight for lower reps, when you're going, in rep ranges like 6 reps
that
per
was the
set.
big thing is what's the high rep, low rep? Can you give maybe just real quick?
Yeah, well, exactly. It's what I'm getting into, is that those low rep, the heavy weight, it may not burn more calories during the workout, but it burns more calories after the workout's over. And for those of you who are familiar with HIIT, high intensity interval training, the real key to why high intensity interval training works, even though you burn fewer calories during the actual workout, is that you burn more calories after the rest, those other 24 or 23 hours during the day. That is what really adds up, is that you're burning more calories and more calories from fat the rest of the day. So when you think about intensity, high intensity interval training is better than slow and steady cardio. Well, it's the same thing. Going heavy is higher intensity than doing, lightweight for 20 reps, with curls or bench press. So the real key to going heavy is not that not only do you build strength with it, but it actually can help you burn more fat by helping you to keep your metabolic rate higher for longer after the workout's over. And that's where the fat loss comes in, long after the workout's over, when you're at work or at school or at home.
So why would you, because, and I know why, but I think some of the people, because a lot of times in some of the programs, I think it's SSA, to where you actually combine single joint, multi-joint movements. Some are following like that low reps, low rep fashion, and then you're supersetting, another action with a high rep range. So for instance, if you're doing, a dumbbell bench, supersetting with the fly, or you start with the fly first, move the dumbbell bench somewhere, so when you're writing your programs, you're thinking about these things. I mean, why would you do it like that?
Then you're getting the best of both worlds, because you're not only getting more calorie burn during the workout from the higher reps and the lower weight, but then you're also getting advantage of the heavy weight
so that
to burn more calories after. But you're also getting the benefit of muscle growth and strength gains due to the periodization of changing up the rep range and the weight.
Yeah, and then I noticed that even in that program outline when you talked about it, because you explained this. And so honestly, guys, if you're doing a lot of the programs, I think one of the big things I've noticed is when people do some of the programs, they don't read the damn program. Outline.
They just go to the program
they just start doing it. And so I think
and I design my programs to not only be effective, but to actually teach my programs. The two things that I want: first are results. Second is I want people to think about training differently. I want them to learn something unique in a different way, instead of just doing the same thing. They've been drilled with the same thing by the big meathead at the gym. Well, this is what I was told to do: 8 to 10 reps, and I should only rest a minute between sets, so that's what I'm going to do every single workout. And I never mix up my cardio with my weight, so why the hell am I doing cardio in between every set? So I want people to do these programs because they learn something new, and then when they do the program, they see it actually works. So not only are you believing it because I'm telling you that, but you're believing it because you're seeing it working for your own body. You're going, wait a minute, but that guy told me to never do that. Here I'm doing it, and I'm seeing results like I've never had before. So you can do this.
Well, one of the things I've actually heard you say before, because you get, I'm with Jim a lot, guys. Going around, and so I see him talk and taking notes and things like that of how I can try and help him present things better a little bit on the website, and try and really take the interest in some of what the customers and what the fans want.
And get that education and better and easily. The podcast is your idea, really.
Well, a little bit, but I think
the Google Hangout was your idea. So you helped me. The website, building the website that way, was your concept. So you're basically helping me to get this information, the message out there in a variety of ways.
Well, and where I was going with that was, so I've had the opportunity to actually see the interaction that you've had with a lot of the fans. I think a lot of the things that comes up is, Jim, what's the best program? And I know what your answer is going to be. So what is the best program?
The one you're not doing.
The one you're not doing.
And that doesn't mean to stop the one you're doing. That just means when you're done with that program, move to a new program.
Exactly. And that's the reason why I think... So let's get to some questions here, if you don't mind, from some of the fans. So I think the best...
Well, the question I was going with was one that I get often.
That's his way of telling me to shut up.
Is that...
Just so you know.
Can you build muscle and strength while you lose body fat?
Yeah.
Most people will tell you it's impossible. And my answer is, look at the people posting on my Twitter feed. Look at the people who post their pictures on my Facebook, on my Instagram. They're gaining muscle and strength while they're losing body fat by the thousands. So anyone who told you that's impossible, maybe it's impossible with their advice or their programs. Now, I'm not saying you can maximize size and strength while you're losing body fat, but it is possible to actually do both.
Yeah.
It truly is, with the right program, with the right nutrition, and with the right supplementation.
Yeah.
It's really that simple. Like I said, you can't maximize both, although with Shortcut to Shred and Cardiac Acceleration, people are actually breaking their PRs on their lifts while they're doing cardio between those sets and while they're losing body fat.
Well, and before we get to this...
So yes, you can.
To go on your point,
I'll debate anyone who wants to say you can't. That's impossible.
Well, I'll take it a step further.
We have proof literally by the thousands.
Exactly. I'll take it a step further. One of the cool things, guys, which on your website, on jimstoppani.com, yes, it is a membership site, and those of you complaining about some of the fact that, well, why do you charge for this? Well, guess what? Would you work for free? I don't think so. But I think one of the cool things that we have as public is the transformations.
Right.
And we give everybody who's done any one of your programs the ability to load their transformation and then select the program in which got them there and allow people to view not only that person's story but the transformation, and then
before and after,
and then see the program,
right,
and then get a glimpse of it. So they get the full program overview. You can click on it.
Yeah. So if you go to jimstoppani.com, click on Gym Army, and then on that pull down you'll have transformations.
The transformations, you can see.
Click on that. And that's completely free.
Yeah. But you actually get to see.
Yeah, you can see.
The real transformation and see the program, which has been cool. And
if you're wondering what's the best program for you, you can kind of go on there and see people of a similar body type to yours and what their change was within that time frame. And then you can kind of say, oh, well, look at that. This is I kind of look like that guy.
Yeah.
I want to look like the way he looks now after doing that 6-week or that 12-week or that 8-week program. I think that's the one for me. And if you have any doubt about how effective the program is, obviously results will vary based on the individual and how serious they are about following the nutrition and the training and the supplementation, but you're going to get, I don't, not, tooting my own horn, but I don't mess around when it comes to getting results. That's my business. I'm in the results business. That's the first thing that I want to do is provide people results like nothing else that they've been able to achieve, but I also want to teach them while they're getting those results, and those results sort of help, like we said, help them.
Exactly.
Well, so what do we got?
Well, let's go on some questions. So I've been, if you guys notice me glancing down, those of you just listening to this audio can't see it, but I'm glancing down to try and look at some of the questions because some of them are the same.
And that's on Facebook, and I've got my iPhone on my Instagram page, where we also have more questions.
So one of the questions is from Joe B. Soto, and it says, Jim, should you do high intensity cardio on a low carb diet? Will it actually burn muscle?
No, it will. No. Yes, you should, and no, it will not burn muscle. Is that good? Is that a good answer?
That's a good answer. Done. Next one.
No.
All right.
That's one. I can never do that. Ever.
No, you can't.
I mean, those are the.
I'd like you to.
This is now going to be the rest of the podcast is basically going to be me talking about this because I'll go on and on about the data and this and the results and the stuff that happens in the gym.
Yeah, but that's why you're the doc, so you're good.
But so will it cause you to lose muscle? No. I mean, the way I like to explain this is kind of what I've already done with the heavyweight versus lightweight. So people think that if you get on a treadmill, and this is what bodybuilders have done for decades, and yeah, you're going to lose body fat, but they think that if you get on a treadmill and you just walk slow and steady for a long time, it's going to preserve muscle and burn fat. If you start sprinting,
It doesn't?
it's going to cause you to lose muscle and you won't burn as much fat. Okay, so I like to do two things here. Okay, so long distance at a low intensity versus high intensity for a short, so, you know, a slow jog or a walk versus a fast burst sprint. Okay, well, let's look at Olympic athletes. Okay,
Who looks better?
your marathon runner or your sprinter. Okay, who has the bigger legs and the overall muscle mass?
Marathon
Is it the guy
runners.
who's going slow and steady? No, it's not. It's the sprinter. Now, you can debate whether, you know, a world-class athlete is on
Genetics and
performance-enhancing
all that.
drugs
Yeah.
and genetics, and the way that they eat and train would be differently, but just sort of a snapshot view, just to sort of make a, you know, sort of a picture statement there. Look at the long-distance marathon runner and look at the sprinter.
Yeah.
Who carries more muscle mass? That's sort of the first way to tell you that sprinting at a, you know, fast pace for short periods, high intensity interval training is not going to cause you to lose muscle. It can actually help you build muscle.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I like to say is let's think about this from a weight training perspective. Okay. You have intensity in cardio and you have intensity in weight training. Your intensity in cardio is basically how fast you're running. Your intensity in the gym, although bodybuilders' intensity just means how hard you're training, but from a sort of research perspective and even a strength training coaching perspective, intensity means weight. That's really what it is how heavy you're going. So from an intensity perspective in the weight room, would putting 10 pounds on the bar and doing 100 reps on the bench press build more muscle than putting on, you know, whatever your, you know, 90% of your max and doing 3 reps? Or, you know, 80% and doing, you know, 8 reps, okay? What's going to build more? Is doing 100 reps in the bench press going to preserve more muscle than...
The maximizing.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So why would this also be the same thing for cardio? Why would long distance, slow, steady cardio burn up muscle? I mean, preserve muscle and burn body fat, but high intensity sprinting
Would actually
cause you to lose muscle.
Yeah.
Why would it burn muscle?
Yeah.
It's not. It's you're putting more mechanical stress on the body, just like when you're going heavier with weights, when you're doing high intensity. It's not going to burn
Muscle.
It's going to help you build muscle if you recover properly
Yeah.
by getting protein in carbs after that program. So no, it's not. And if you're on a severely carb reduced diet, which was the question, wasn't even on a low carb diet.
Yeah.
As long as you're getting an ample protein after that high intensity interval training, or even if you're doing the low intensity cardio, you still want to get that protein afterwards. You're not going to lose muscle. And you know the research on high intensity interval training shows that subjects, and there's been numerous different studies. There's subjects who literally sprinted. They did 30-second sprints for either 4 bouts or 6 bouts. And that was all their cardio 3 times a week. And another group jogged for 30 minutes. I think it was 30 or 60 minutes, 3 times a week. Okay? The group that was sprinting for just a couple minutes every day burned like twice as much body fat as the group jogging.
Yeah. But you know, I think that's where a lot of
and they didn't lose muscle mass. You know,
but even I think just, you know, somebody who's not doesn't really know that. I think that there's so many misconceptions.
There's a lot of
that. Like, for instance, what's better? Because one of the things that I think when you and I started, developing, the business relationship and working together and things like that was kind of changing the perception about cardio, separating cardio from, and that's actually one of the questions that we got here about separating cardio and the weight training. Should cardio be done before weight training or should it be done after weight training? So you want to tackle that one real quick since we're on this
so
topic?
That's a common question. Should it be before or after? And really, it depends on your goals. If your goal is to maximize muscle size and strength with a secondary goal of fat loss, then, and typically that, why not maximize muscle strength and muscle mass? And I'm not saying secondary and fat loss because you're going to get less fat loss if you do it after, but you kind of maximize all three that way. Do it after, that way you have more intensity to put into the weight training versus doing your cardio first, which may, depending on how intensely you go, how long you go, you may be more fatigued during the weight training bout. So if you put it in to the weight training when you're fresh, you're strongest, you're going to get more out of the better results from the weight training, and then you do your cardio after. Now, if your goal is to run and perform better in running, then do your running before your weight training. But few people are actually running to run.
Yeah.
They're, doing their cardio. They're doing it just as a form of fat loss. So maximize your weight training when you're fresh. Sure, you could do a warm-up, whether it's slow, steady state cardio just to warm the body. You could be even a few bouts of Tabatas before as a warm-up, and then move into your weight training as a warm-up, not as a real focused, long, fat-burning workout, and then move on to the weight training. Or you could do it during with cardio acceleration.
Yeah, I think
And if I can go into cardio acceleration, if you asked me 5 years ago if doing about a minute bout of intense cardio in between every set would reduce your strength gains, if you asked me that 5 years ago, I say, yeah, it actually probably could, because you're just going to be zapped.
So rather than doing step-ups in between your sets, you're sitting there for 2 to 3 minutes resting in between, right?
Right, so the difference, so if let's say you do bench press and you're working in an 8 to 10 rep range, whatever, even 6 to 8, whatever, and between every set you sat there and rested, or between every set you did a minute of high intensity cardio, would you be weaker on the next set if you did the cardio or sitting?
Yeah. And
most people would say, well, doing the cardio because it's going to tire you out. And that is true when you're not accustomed to cardio acceleration.
In the beginning.
And this is why, this is what I'm getting at. So, but I started playing around with cardio acceleration after there was some research showing that it actually helped recovery. And I don't mean in between sets. It was showing that it helped recovery after the workout was over. But then I started thinking about, well, hang on, that's really active recovery going on. Well, active recovery can not only help you recover after the workout's over, it can help you recover during the workout. But first, your body has to adapt to it. So what happens with cardio acceleration is a lot of people stop doing it because the first week they're like, well, my bench press went down.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, but if you kept it up, and this is thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people have reported this, by week 2, it's actually helping them recover between sets. So week 1, they're so exhausted from the cardio acceleration that it is impacting their weightlifting. But those who carry it out, by week 2, sometime within week 2, the body has adapted to that training program, and no longer is the cardio acceleration zapping all their energy. It's actually helping them recover better because it's keeping blood flow going. They're getting more nutrients and oxygen to the muscle, and it's taking more waste products away. And that's simply active recovery. And so they're basically able to, let's say they're doing an 8 to 10 rep range on the bench press, and they're doing the first set and they get 10 reps. Have you just normally just sat there and waited on set 2, if you rested, let's just say a minute, or a minute in between sets, you're going to drop your reps. So maybe the first set you get 10, second set you get 8, hit another 10 on the second set, and then maybe 8 on the third set. It allows you to recover better in between those sets. So that aids strength, and that's why people are reporting that they're breaking their PRs on the deadlift. They're literally, jogging in place for a minute at a high speed in between their deadlifts and doing more weight than they've ever lifted.
I think too, there a lot of people, because when you and
they're losing more body fat. Plus, they don't have to do cardio later. It's done. Yeah. You're done. The workout's done. You did your weights. You did your cardio. It maximized fat burning, and it helped you recover between sets, helping you get stronger and building muscle.
And you were efficient with your time.
Yeah,
and a lot of
exactly.
Time. Well, I think too, you talked about the first week, because a lot of people actually have said that I've noticed, is they said, well, I got weaker the first week. And I mean, quite honestly, in my experience with, training and things like that, you're always going to go, anytime you change up once you start plateauing and you actually change your program, you will decrease a little bit before you start seeing those increases, just because you're not used to the training protocols in the person. So it doesn't really matter what program that you should expect a slight decrease if you're doing it right and you're actually on a properly structured program and you're training yourself to. So, but that's the thing, I think, is that as long as you can hang in there with your programs, and by hang in, I mean like literally hang on.
Yeah, hang on.
For a week, it's
like
acceleration
is no joke.
Yeah, because people are like, I'm done. I just did the first week, and I had to go back to what I normally did because it just kicked my ass. Just hang on.
Hang on. And not only
just get through the first week or two,
and then not only are you going to see the fat loss, gains in strength, gains in muscle size, you are going to be one conditioned badass when you're seriously, I mean, your conditioning is, whatever your sport is, your conditioning, or it's just you just want to feel better condition when you go out playing with whatever your kids, or you do a pickup game, basketball, whatever it is, you are going to notice the difference in your performance, in your conditioning, and your endurance because of that.
Well, let's move on real quick, since we're, this is actually a question I notice comes up a lot. Jim, what is your best program you can recommend for a woman like myself? And then she goes into her stats. I'm going to leave it at that.
Well, that's not really a fat loss question, but I guess for fat loss. For a female, for fat loss.
Let's take it. Let's alter the question a little bit, but
let's keep it to the. I want to keep this to the
training for fat loss.
So
a woman, what's the best program training for fat loss for a woman?
Is my motto. It's train for your goals, not your
gender.
Not your gender. So look, I was science editor for Muscle & Fitness Hers for a while, but I will say I think female magazines make the mistake of making a lot of women feel that they need different training programs than men. And that's, not accurate at all. Sure, when you speak about men and women, most men want to focus on building big arms, big chest, big shoulders, and a big back. And, I'll train my legs as well. That's probably the majority of males, if they train their legs at all. Most women is just like, I want shapely legs and ass, and I'll do some upper body stuff. So yes, if you want to focus more on leg stuff, a little bit of a difference, but a solid training program, like any of my programs, focus on the entire body. And when it comes to fat loss, focusing on the entire body is exactly what you want to do to maximize fat loss. So any of my programs that are focused on fat loss, but then any of my programs, even things like down and up mass, the name would fool you. You would think down and up mass, well, that's just to, get big and strong and bulky, right? No, you can take down all my programs. I basically teach you how to adapt it towards your goals. You can do down and up mass with a fat loss focus by doing things like cardiac acceleration, tweaking your diet. It's
you'll gain mass, but you'll lose weight. I think
you'll gain muscle, but you'll lose body fat.
One of the things I think I've taken note of, not specifically,
but specifically for her, Super Shredded 8 is a great one to start with, or Shortcut to Shred.
Yeah.
In either one of those, in any order, do those 2 programs, and then
which one would you say to do first, Super Shredded 8 or Shortcut to Shred?
It depends on the person. I think Super Shredded 8, Shortcut to Shred is, like I said, so intense that a lot of people jump in.
Yeah.
Who may not train. Their training experience isn't that great, and they jump in there and it just kicks their ass, and then they're like, "Whoa, this is too much."
Yeah.
Super Shredded 8, although it's intense for a different reason.
Yeah.
I think it's a better one to get into. Plus, unless you're following my dieting 101, which probably is the best way to follow a diet, my Super Shredded 8 diet is not as intense of a diet, whereas Shortcut to Shred, when I design a fat loss program like Shortcut to Shred, bodybuilding.com puts it on their site. Literally millions of people followed Shortcut to Shred. I need to give a program that millions of people can easily follow and get amazing results in 6 weeks, okay? Yeah. That means the diet has to be fairly, it's strict. It's a strict diet.
Yeah.
So, it's very strict. The problem with strict dieting, this is going to get into questions I get on my Instagram, with carb intake, is, I get this question, what do you think of keto diets? And I'll get into it. And this is kind of where I'm going into, is that you don't want to drop carbs too abruptly or too quickly. However, if you need to get as shredded as you can in 6 weeks, you need to do that, okay?
Yeah.
But that makes it harder for long-term fat loss.
Yeah.
Once you've dropped your carbs down, it's harder to continue losing fat. But the Shortcut to Shred is a 6-week program designed to get people absolutely shredded. That's what it's designed to do. So the diet is intense. However, if you want, and your real goal should be more long-term fat loss, you want a diet that's not quite as intense. And that's what Super Shredded 8 teaches you how to diet, but it's a longer-term diet. It's a little more intuitive and a little more specific for that person, because you change the phases when you notice you sort of hit a plateau. That's when you go to the next phase of the diet. Whereas with Shortcut to Shred, after week 1, you're already into the second phase of the diet. And then after week 3, you're into the third phase of the diet, and carbs get pretty low, but the results are
for themselves.
Yeah, so if you want, that's the real difference between Super Shredded 8 and Shortcut to Shred. If you want like 6 weeks of maximal fat loss to like go to a wedding or, get ready for vacation where you're going to be on the beach, do Shortcut to Shred.
Yeah.
If you want to then continue after if you want to continue maximizing fat loss to get as low as you can over like a 12, 16 week, that's the best way to really get down to fat loss. Yeah. Then you want to start with something like Super Shredded 8, where the diet is a little more progressive.
Yeah.
And that way you can continue the fat loss easier. And that's the problem with keto diets. Keto diets are where you're basically, I'm just cutting all carbs out of my diet. So I'm going to have 0 carbs except what shows up a little tiny bit in eggs and a little tiny bit in, the meat products and protein and in fat and things like, vegetables. You're still going to get some carbs, but typically it's very, very, very low carb diet. Good results, you lose a lot of fat quickly on a keto diet, right? But what happens when you hit a plateau?
Yeah.
You're going to hit a plateau at some point. Yeah. Your body adapts. Your body does not want to lose body fat because, it's an energy reserve. It wants to hold on to as much body fat. So as you lower your calorie intake and your carb intake, your body adapts and gets more efficient. So it needs fewer calories to do the same daily routines. So your metabolism starts slowing down.
Yeah.
Now the only way once you've plateaued and hit a fat loss to continue losing fat is to then decrease your calories again. Well, if you've already cut all your carbs right off the start of your diet, what the hell do you do now when you hit a plateau?
Yeah.
You got to start carving out protein. You know what I mean? And then what happens? Well, you're going to start losing muscle as well as fat, because now you got to start taking away and eating less protein, eating less fat, and the fat and protein provide essential nutrients, essential fatty acids from the fat, essential amino acids from the protein. That's not what you really want to cut your calories from. You want to cut it from the carbs, but you want to do it very slowly. So no, I'm not a big believer in keto diets. Yeah, if you, like I said, with Trick at the Shed, if you have something that you have to get ready for in like a short period of time, 4 weeks or whatever, you want to be ripped as you can in 4 weeks, sure, you can jump on a keto diet. You're going to get really quick fat loss in a short period of time, but your metabolism is going to stall, and then you're going to be stuck without being able to lose any more fat. So as long as you're happy reaching that point just for that time, that one time period, then you could use a keto diet.
Well, you briefly mentioned at the beginning of that your dieting 101 rules, and just so anyone who's watching or listening, Jim posts that quite a bit on. It's actually in an article that he put out. I think it was almost a year ago now. Right?
At least, yeah.
And so, but he eventually made it just specifically for the members of the site, and then we realized. People were like, "This is blowing my mind as far as the information."
Yeah, it's a helpful article, so I post it as free. A lot of articles I'll post up on Facebook and Twitter.
But look for Dieting 101, because that I think, it cleared up a lot of things even for myself. I mean, I know what I know when it comes to the training aspects of what to do in the gym, but I took my education, just to the the bachelor's level, and then obviously after that start the magazine. But I'm not a nutritionist. I'm never claimed to be a nutritionist or an exercise science guy like yourself. But that actually helped me understand a lot of the misconceptions, because even when you're studying this stuff in school and you take the test to be trained and certified and all that, that's one of the things I think that cleared up so many misconceptions for me as far as just how to maintain a lean and healthy lifestyle for a long time. It's not like how to lose weight in 6 weeks
and then bounce back
and how to do it again and what diet's next. It's like, here's how to live it.
Yeah. And the nice thing is one of the questions I have on Instagram here from many people is, what are the best macros for fat loss? Well, the thing is, it depends on the person.
Yeah.
So when I have to make a diet for a program like on bodybuilding.com, there's specific macros there. That works for majority of the people, but not for everyone. It's not ideal for everyone. With Dieting 101, it basically takes you from where your diet is right now, your typical diet, and teaches you how to take that diet, what you're eating, how many calories you're eating right now, and then turning that into your starting point on the diet. So it's going to be different for you. It's going to be different for me. It's going to be different for the next person, because it teaches you, take a snapshot of where your diet is right now, and then here's how to build this diet, and then here's how to progress this diet over, a good year if you really wanted to, if not longer, and really for a lifetime. And then it even teaches you how to really reverse the diet, so that, okay, now I want to, once that's the problem with you losing fat, you keep hitting plateaus, you got to keep removing calories. And like I said, I like to take the calories from the carbs. So over time, you may get so low that it's difficult to continue dieting because you're so restricted on what you can eat. That's a period where you want to start reverse dieting and adding those calories slowly back. You will gain a little bit of it. If you do it properly, you won't really gain that much body fat. You'll certainly gain less body fat than you were when you were back at that calorie intake. And then once you get back there, then you can start it again. So And that's the real nice thing about Dieting 101 is it literally works for everyone because it's based on your current where you are right now.
Yeah.
It's not just like eat this,
yeah.
this many carbs, this much in this,
Well, that's a lot of things too. Is I think that the reason why I even bring that up is because that specific article comes up a lot when anyone has a question. And what's really nice is that some of the followers that you have on social media, they've seen you post that when people have questions. Jim, I don't know where I should start, or where I fall in with my macros, or what do you suggest for pre and post workout meals, things like that. It's literally read this,
here you go. It's got,
and you'll get it. And that's the other cool thing too, is that you actually break it down by when you train.
So all the So that's one. One of the things with the shortcut to size and shortcut to shred on bodybuilding.com is I just sort of give a one, that's what they want in a one sort of snapshot, example of the diet. So people say, well, the way the diet is based, you're training in the afternoon, and that's, but I train in the morning. So how do I
adjust?
How do I manipulate it?
Yeah.
And that's what Dieting 101 does. Also, what Super Shredded 8, if you're following that specific diet, although you could do Dieting 101 with Super Shredded 8.
Yeah, you can actually follow the rules of that with that.
Yeah, Dieting 101 works for any of my programs.
Yeah.
You want to do down and up mass, but focus more on fat loss while you're building muscle, follow the Dieting 101.
Yeah.
It's really that
simple.
It's that simple. And like I said, I post it up a lot.
Yeah, it's everywhere, guys. So if you don't know where Dieting 101 is, and you're listening or you're watching this, well, number one, it's on his website. But he does make a lot of stuff free. We do try and do as much as we possibly can to try and make sure that those key parts of I guess, assistance to some of the people who do follow it.
Right.
We,
the education.
we do want to make that available. It's not like you're trying to hoard everything.
Yeah, so that you have to pay money to get it.
Yeah, exactly. Those types of things, it's really about helping people. So I think, if you're looking to try and have questions answered on your diet, where you need to follow, and that cleared up a lot for me. I know it's helped a lot of other people too. But let's get some questions on Instagram, because
one of the common questions on Instagram is, what can you do to get that stubborn body fat? Like for guys, it's love handles. For women, a lot of times it's on the hips and the butt.
Yeah, that's a question on here.
That's a question I get a lot. Now, so the question is, can you really spot reduce? Like, can I get focused? Can I do things that specifically are going to burn fat on my love handles, on my abs? And, typically the answer is no. You really can't. However, there are supplements, green tea extracts, CLA, that have been found to, when people supplement with them, they have a higher percentage of fat loss from the abdominal fat than those who are dieting without those supplements. So that can help to some degree. It's it's not going to melt the fat off of your abs. It can help a little bit. And there's some really interesting data on exercise where they actually, and it's not like regular weight training, but they basically took subjects and had them do the leg extension. Mm-hmm. But they would do like extremely, extremely high reps. It wasn't even based on reps. It was based on like time, where they're basically doing, the specifics escape me now, but it's like 30 minutes of leg extensions. Like,
straight. Yeah.
So it's almost like, biking, if you will, more so, because there's some resistance there, right? So it's more like almost a cardio, but it is doing like, specific muscle group exercise, an isolation move to specifically target the quads. And then they looked at where the fat was coming from to fuel the energy requirements for that muscle,
for that action,
for the quad muscles. And they actually found, and I won't bore you with how you do this with tracer, we call it tracer methodology, but they actually found that majority of the fat that was fueling the quad muscles was coming from the thighs.
From the quads.
From the quad itself. So it opens up the question of, can you actually spot reduce?
So you heard it. So Jim Stoppani said yes. If you do crunches for an hour, You know, that's a new infomercial, right? You know,
Yeah, but I mean,
there
is some data that would suggest that. So if you want, if you wanted to, spot reduce, it may be possible where you actually, if it's the abs,
the jury's still out a little bit,
right? Yeah. Where you do very high reps for that area, right? And that will free up the fat. Then what I would do is follow it with, like high intensity interval training, cardio, or, and if you wanted to do steady state cardio, you could even do that. Because what the exercise did was it freed up the fat from the fat cells in that area. Mm-hmm. And then what the cardio will do will help you make sure that fat gets burned away. It doesn't just get stored back in. But I'm not,
You're not
I'm still not suggesting that. It's, definitely yes, the answer is you can spot reduce.
You're starting a study.
So, be my guest to try that. But generally speaking, the only real way to really get rid of those areas is, and like I said, they get this from guys. They have abs, they're lean everywhere else, but they just have body fat in their love handles or on the lower part of their abs, or the females, they just can't get rid of it around the hips or the butt. When you've gotten that low in body fat, but you have those trouble areas, the real only way to get rid of that body fat is to treat your dieting as if you were getting ready for a contest. Like you're literally going to go on stage.
Yeah.
And to like prep for a, like a physique contest or a photo shoot. You really have to get extremely strict with your diet if you have a troubled area. The only way that fat is going to be used, because what happens is, and we can talk about the biochemistry and the physiology forever on why there's certain areas that just don't lose fat, and then as soon as you eat a piece of pie, literally you gain no fat, goes right to that area. There's enzymes involved, but whatever, the jury is still out on specifically what that is. The only way to get that stubborn area is when you've removed the fat from everywhere else. Because if you have fat, let's say your trouble area is your stomach or your love handles, you still have fat on your arms and your legs. Well, this is the stubborn area. It doesn't want to give up that fat.
Yeah.
It's going to give it up here first.
It's the last to go.
Okay? So you literally need to get literally shredded like a fitness model does, or a fitness competitor, and get rid of all the body fat from those areas. Then your body has no option but to start taking the fat from that area. Look, people don't want to hear this. They want me to say, oh, have this supplement.
Pill.
Shred Gym is just going to melt your troubled areas away. It's going to help, but it's not, a magic bullet. This is, you really have to get extremely strict with your diet to get those troubled areas to come off. Then, it's not going to be fun. You're basically like living on a pre-contest diet.
Yeah.
Then once you get it down to where you're happy, you slowly reverse diet to, get back to a normal eating pattern while minimizing the fat gain in that area. So that, like I said, my answer isn't a good one, but I thought I'd throw out some of that data.
Yeah.
Like I said, CLA, green tea extract might help, especially the abdominal and love handle area. And then, like I said, you could try doing like very high reps followed by cardio. But again, I'm not saying that that's definitely going to work.
Well, just because we're running out of time here, so I do want to get a few questions. But just to continue, because I know that this comes up a lot. It's not a specific question on your Facebook feed right here. But when you mention about taking the products once you've actually achieved the levels of body fat that you've wanted to.
Yep.
So, aside from training and eating right, you mentioned taking specific things like obviously shred. Does somebody have to continue taking that supplement, a fat loss product, or the
No, if you, let's say you're using Shred Gym to help you, encourage more fat loss. Doesn't mean once you've reached your goal that stopping Shred Gym is going to just, all of a sudden you're going to get fat again.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Shred Gym helps you eat less. It helps keep your metabolism high. It helps free up more fat. But you're not going to get sort of an opposite effect when you stop taking it, where all of a sudden your metabolism slows down. You start, storing fat, and it doesn't want to release it. It's not quite like that. However, I take, I'm very, I stay, I might at my heaviest go to like 7% body fat. That's, fat for me. But, I have to
know what mine is.
No, we know. But, I take Shred Gym pretty much year round, and not only just for the fat loss, but I want the acetyl L-carnitine. Well, in recovery, green tea and acetyl L-carnitine are great for muscle recovery, and also even joint health as well, specifically the green tea extract. So, I use it year round for the other ingredients as well. So, but we should probably wrap, because today I'm actually doing my Google.
And that's coming up in
live hangout in a few minutes.
In 9 minutes.
I got to get that set up.
Yeah. So, well, listen, this is the first one, so obviously, guys, it's a little rough, a little raw.
It's uncut.
Uncut,
right? Is uncut, right?
So things will get better, but each week, I think you said that we're going to cover.
I can't guarantee it'll get better, but
unless I leave, right? I know it's going to happen. A bunch of people will say, "Jim, I loved your podcast. I loved the fact, but get rid of that guy wearing the hat. He was annoying." So I can see it now. It would be brutal, But yeah, so we're going to try and get together. At least do this as often as we can. The goal is once a week.
The goal is once a week, obviously, with travel and things like that. It might get difficult, but I'm going to definitely try my best to continue doing this. Just another way to get you guys the information that you're hungry for.
All right. Well, good, Jim.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys for tuning in. And you can get me on my Instagram, my Twitter, and my Facebook page for not only questions that are based on the topics that I'm going to cover on this podcast and I guess videocast for those of you watching on YouTube, but also you can hit me up for topics that you guys want me to cover as well. So see you guys soon. Thank you.